Hello, I am Ian Brazee-Cannon, and this is what I am hoping will be the first of a series of readings of my works of fiction. Today I am going to read my story, What Lies in the Wastelands. It is my first story in the Divided States of America shared universe, created by J. Allen Irvine for the Nomadic Delirium Press. The story is available as an ebook on its own, as well as part of a collected anthology of the Divided States stories. I hope you enjoy. What Lies in the Wastelands by Ian Brazee-Cannon. The black scars stretched across the wastelands. Once it was known as Interstate 70. It had served as a quick path of travel, linking east to west. Over the decades since the devastation left by the Secession Wars, nature had boldly fought to reclaim the endless miles of asphalt. In most areas, some form of vegetation had broken through, leaving the path rough and disfigured, barely recognizable as being man-made. The vehicles that had once rushed along the highway mindlessly would find the present state destructive. The RMAS Journeyman wheeled its way over the chunks of displaced concrete. The Land Explorer's giant rubber wheels found little challenge in overcoming the debris. Its sleek silver frame reflected its surroundings, somewhat camouflaging the vehicle as it made its trek. Captain Renee Sinclair sat at her station staring at the view screen. The area beyond the road was flat and empty. The vegetation that grew there was all brown and stunted. No trees or large bushes to be found. Scattered ruins of old buildings destroyed and abandoned during the war, not quite a century before, were all that broke the barren landscape. "What a bleak environment," the captain remarked. "Any sign of a good place for a base camp?" "I'm getting promising readings from an area about 3 kilometers down the road," Dr. Jamie Schubert replied. Vehicle operator engineer Cushell Ellington added, "We wouldn't be able to go much further. All the engines will need a break soon. These rough roads are heating the system up fiercely. Besides, I'm about ready to get out and stretch as it is." "Heat, radiation, and air quality are all within acceptable levels in this area, so we'll be able to move about in our standard work suits," Jamie announced. Within an hour, the journeyman was parked in a good-sized clearing as the 3-member scientific team went about setting up their equipment. "Rovers 1 through 4 are out getting samples, with number 5 here on guard duty," Cushell reported. "So far, everything seems to be on track." "Help Jamie calibrating the turbines, and I'll get the mapping drones lined up," the captain replied. "Doesn't smell right out here," Cushell remarked. "What did you expect?" Jamie asked with an amused smile. "You're too used to the smell of cities." "I did the survival training, and I've gotten out to the mountains many times. I know what nature smells like." "No, he has a point," the captain interrupted. "It smells dead," Cushell finished. An uncomfortable silence lingered until the 3 of them quietly got back to their work. As the sun was setting, the team found themselves sitting around a fire pit having their evening meal. "Good to see the survival training in use," the captain remarked. "Starting a fire in a controlled situation is not the same as doing it out here. I'm impressed." Jamie smiled and replied, "There's nothing special about it. It's simple science after all. Hardest part was finding usable wood. We're burning the skeletal remains of what I believe used to be a store of convenience." "I'm just enjoying the practical use of our training," the captain commented. "Tomorrow we should start with—" Cushell began to speak when a buzz of alarm roared through the area. "That's Rover 5's perimeter alert," the captain said, jumping to her feet, pacification rod in hand. Adam and Jamie joined her. The 3 of them stood back to back, looking into the darkness. "I'm not seeing anything," Cushell whispered. "Rover 5, report status," the captain said into her wrist controls. "Looks like we got 3 not-too-bright trespassers, drawing attention to themselves with a shiny ride reflecting their campfire like a beacon to all of us," came a voice from the darkness. "There's 10 guns aimed at your little group, and we took out your machine. Best put down them sissy sticks if you want to stay living." "And how do we know you're not just one man trying to con us?" the captain asked astutely. "Love me them smart ladies," came the reply. "Okay, boys, show 'em we're here." A series of 10 shots came in quick succession from all around them. The captain touched her wrist controls and said, "Journeyman, lockdown, level red." There was a sizzle of electricity followed by 2 distinct screams of pain. "What the hell you do?" the person in the darkness asked. "Sounds like a couple of your people were near our vehicle," the captain commented, her voice still holding a sense of control. I recommend that they leave it alone unless they desire to get hurt worse. You asking for some pain, lady, the unseen owner of the voice threatened. Put down your toys and raise your hands, or I swear you're going to get shot. The captain slowly placed her pacification rod on the hand, with Cashel and Jamie following her lead. I do not like this, Captain, Jamie remarked. Neither do I, the captain replied. But we don't have much of a choice. A dozen men stepped out of the darkness from all directions, 10 of them holding projectile firing rifles. Now, I'm guessing this lady here is in charge of y'all, a tall man said as he approached the captain. He was dressed in loose-fitting, clearly handmade clothes. A holster with a pistol in it was strapped to his chest. Noah, you know what to do. A boy, no older than 15, dressed in the same style of loose-fitting clothes, dropped a duffel bag on the ground, then reached around and put the pacification rods in it. He then started to frisk the scientist, removing any pieces of equipment he found and throwing them in the bag. Now turn off your ride's defenses so we can get to work on seeing what we got there, the group's leaders commented. No, the captain replied with a stern face. Excuse me? I said no, the captain stated as if talking to a child. You do understand the meaning of the word. The group's leader shook his head in frustration. Don't be a bitch now. Turn it off or there'll be pain. Not going to happen, the captain explained. The RMSA has guidelines in place to make sure dangerous primitives do not get a hold of our technology. I cannot deactivate security protocols on my own. It will take contacting command and proving I am not under duress. And trust me when I say they will know. At this point, keeping the journeyman out of your hands is worth more than our lives. Damn it all, you bitch! Why'd you have to make it difficult? The man moved over to the captain and put one of his hands around her neck. Maybe I just need to show you what the hell is this? The man released his hand and looked at the captain in puzzlement. She got an Adam's apple, he exclaimed. The captain released a slight laugh at the looks of disgust and puzzlement from the gathered men. She's a he? Noah shouted. But the hair and face, and those are clearly titties. Maybe you'd like to check in my pants, the captain remarked with an amused smile. Noah backed away, his face turning red. The man in charge raised his hand in frustration. Let's just get them to Mucklow, he ordered. The 3 scientists were led at gunpoint further away from the road. They passed through a collection of collapsed buildings, none of which were habitable. Where are they taking us? Cashel asked quietly. We found no signs of a working civilization in this area. I would guess bunkers, Jamie answered. You think we're dealing with a prepper group then? The captain asked. Most likely, Jamie replied. Keep an eye for buried entryways once we're through the remains of this town. What are preppers? Cashel asked. People who believed in various catastrophes were going to happen and would often go to extreme levels of preparation, the captain explained. Underground bunkers stocked with decades of supplies was not uncommon for them. Many were militant, extreme anti-government types who believed in some fairly outrageous conspiracies. From what I've seen, chances are good those are the kind we're dealing with, Jamie added. It was not long before they were approaching an open hatchway in a field behind a pile of wooden bricks that was once a house. 2 guards stood behind the open hatchway, and 4 of their armed escort, and the tall man in charge entered ahead of them. Inside the bunker, the 3 scientists found themselves led into a large room, where the tall man was talking to a chubby, shorter man who was dressed in a tighter-fitting shirt with a series of decorative designs stitched into it. Behind them, in what appeared to be a kitchen unit, 3 women, 1 middle-aged and 2 teenagers, were active with food preparation. All 3 wore plain white dresses. After a brief exchange, the chubby man turned towards the scientists. He gave them a simple once-over. So these are the 3 agents of the Illuminati come to bring us into the New World Order, the chubby man said. My guess is you are the one they call Mucklow, the captain replied. I am Dr. Renee Sinclair, captain of the Rocky Mountain States of America research vehicle Journeyman. Your people's hostile actions. What kind of society would put a dude suffering from mental illness in a position of captain? Mucklow asked. I mean, if you're so confused to not know what sex you are, who would listen to a thing you say? I'm not going to debate gender identity with the captain started. Mucklow cut her off with a, shut up, sissy. Then we got the Muslim. Cashel looked puzzled, and then replied, I'm guessing you're referring to me? To clarify, I am of Indian descent, with grandparents who were Hindu and Buddhists. I myself am agnostic. Not that I'm sure what any of that has... We got a confession of Satanism at least. Good to know where you stand. Muckle looked at Jamie. We sure this one's a woman? My birth gender is immaterial to the situation, Jamie replied. I have 6 doctorates and have... Oh, great. A know-it-all, Muckle moaned. Damn it, Chuck, not a one of them worth keeping. All they'll do is spread dangerous ideas if we kept them around, like those jackasses from the Great Lakes tried. Best to make a public execution of them in the morning. Can't afford any confusion among our people. The captain replied, You have no right to commit such... Shut up, sissy boy, Mucklower snapped. You're in my territory here, and I have the right to do whatever I decide. Now take these 3 to the cells and send word that we're going to have a mandatory public gathering in the clearing an hour after sunrise. The cells were cement rooms built into the ground with reused prison doors as ceilings. Inside the cells were 2 simple wooden beds and a drainage vent. They were clearly designed with no concern regarding comfort, nor to be used for long-term incarceration. Sitting on Krishal's shoulders, Jamie was right up against the bars and able to see the area around the cells. Dropping to the floor, Jamie said, 2 guards on watch, with a 20-meter perimeter, following no manner of organized patrol. Cell door is secured with a basic mechanical lock system. And it looks like we have about 2 hours before sunrise, Krishel commented. So the main issue would be retrieving my risk control unit from those morons, the captain commented. So let's do some brainstorming on this. Hello? Came a faint whisper. Are you down there? Where else would we be? Krishel replied. One of the teenage girls from Mucklow's place peeked into the cage. Her attention was clearly divided between looking into the cell and keeping an eye out for the guards. Y'all from the city, right? She asked. Yes, the captain answered with a gentle voice. If and I can help you get away, can you take me with you? Can we trust you? The captain remarked. The real lady with you said she got a lot of education, the girl said. That's something I cannot get here, but I want. The 3 scientists crowded together and started talking in whispers. What do you think? The captain asked. I can't see any gain for her lying to us, Krishal replied. She would be our best chance at retrieving the equipment, Jamie added. We have a very short time frame, Krishal reminded. I say we take a chance with her. I agree, Jamie stated. The captain turned to look up at the girl. There was no sign of her. Damn it, the captain mumbled. Anyone up there? A long silence hung in the air, broken by a rustling of movements, followed by the girl's head reappearing. Yeah, I'm here, she replied quietly. Sorry, old Ed got a little close and I had to hide. That's fine, girl, the captain replied. I'm Debbie, sir, or Deb. Okay, Deb, the captain said with a comforting tone. We have decided to accept your offer. Now I can try to get the keys from Big Ed, but I'm not... Don't worry about the keys, Deb. We'll take care of that. The duffel bag with our equipment in it, do you know where they put it? Yeah, Papa gonna have it at our place, Debbie replied. Most likely messing with it and all. We'd like to get back as much of it as possible, the captain explained. But we really need the wrist unit that says Captain Sinclair on the inside of the band. I think I can do that, Debbie said, nodding her head. Be back here in half an hour with everything you can get, the captain stated, and you're welcome to return to Denver with us. Thank you, Debbie stuttered out. Go now. We don't have much time. Oh yeah, of course, Debbie replied as she ducked away into the night, leaving the scientist alone in the moonlit cell. Okay, folks, we have half an hour, the captain stated. Let's do this. Jamie climbed back onto Kashal's shoulders. He stood up to let her get a good look outside. Both guards are chatting it up right now, Jamie reported. We have the opening we need. Then be quick about it, the captain ordered. Jamie pulled a series of metal pieces out of a secret pocket in her shirt sleeve. She reached over and placed them in the locking mechanism of the door. She switched out the pieces a couple times before finding the right combination. Not a minute later, there was a satisfying click, and Jamie pushed the door up slightly. Once he confirmed the guards had not noticed, he quickly, but quietly, opened it the rest of the way until it was resting fully open. Jamie counted to 10 in her head and said, Boost me up. The captain and Kashal helped Jamie get to her feet on Kashal's shoulders and pulled herself over the edge of the cell door. A moment later, the rope ladder to the cell unfolded before them. Jamie crouched down off to the side, keeping an eye on the guards, and Kashal pulled himself from the cell. The guards turned to look at the cell as Kashal was midway through his movement. Their eyes locked with his as everyone froze. Hi? Kashal blurted out. What the hell? The older looking of the guards said. The guards moved towards Kashal, guns at the ready, as he got to his feet and raised his arms slowly. Now I'm sure we can be reasonable, Kashal said. You better get back on down there, Muslim, the older guard commanded. With focus on Kashal, Jamie was able to get up behind the guards. In a swift motion, she disarmed one of the guards, followed by a solid strike to his jaw that sent him flying to the ground. Kashal did not waste the distraction. As the other guard turned to learn the fate of his partner, he was swiftly disarmed, and with 2 well-placed strikes to his chest, the guard was lying on the ground, with his knees to his chest. "Nicely done," the captain said as he popped her head out of the cell and took stock of what had transpired. The cell door was lowered back into place, with the 2 guards bound and gagged in the cell. A small pile of their handguns, knives, and assorted personal equipment lay in front of the cell. "That's a surprising amount of weapons for just 2 men, Kashal commented, looking at the pile. "It's amazing they were able to walk at all." "It's been about half an hour," the captain said. "Looks like we may have to find our way back to the Journeyman without my control unit." "I'm fairly certain we were taken mostly on a northern path, slightly easterly," Jamie commented. "Not long until sunrise," the captain remarked. "We better get going." The 3 of them had a quick conference to agree upon the most likely direction and started their trek. They had just gotten started when nearby movement gave them pause. Debbie emerged into the area, clearly confused by the lack of guards. She made it to the cell and looked down. A gasp escaped her. "We're over here, child," the captain said quietly. Debbie hustled over to them. "I thought you left without me," Debbie commented, relief in her voice. "What were you able to retrieve?" the captain asked. Debbie handed over a simple cloth bag. Kashal quickly dug through it. 2 rods, she said. "Damn, neither one is mine." He handed Jamie and the captain their weapons. "We got the wrist unit." He handed the unit to the captain. He then took the remaining pieces from the bag and put them in his pocket. The captain put on her wrist unit and pressed a button. "I got a fix. Let's move it." The 4 of them got on their way. With Debbie's help, they were able to avoid areas where there might be activity. They froze as they neared the Journeyman. The turbines had been pulled down and taken apart. The crates of equipment that had been left out were now open and had clearly been gone through. 4 men were there, loading up a cart with equipment. "Only 4, the captain remarked. "You know what to do." Jamie and Kashal nodded. The captain and Jamie pulled forth their pacification rods and activated them. They ran up to the closest men and pressed the rods into the men's backs before they had a chance to respond. Kashal ran ahead toward the 3rd man and slammed his palm into the man's jaw. The 3 men fell to the ground. The 4th man stood in shock. Dropping the equipment he had been holding, he raised his hands and started backing away. "Sorry, Seth. Looks like you're in for it now," Debbie said. "Damn it, Debbie," came Mucklow's voice from the other side of the Journeyman. "I knew those freaks from the Great Lake got to you, but for you to actually betray me like this?" Mucklow and 2 men, holding their rifles at the ready, came around to face them. "Papa, Debbie started to say. "Just shut up, girl," Mucklow ordered. "Best for you now to be quiet and learn your place." Debbie lowered her head and backed away as her father turned his focus onto the 3 scientists. "Now I think I got a good glance at how you trigger your rods there," Mucklow replied as he produced Kashal's rod from his belt. "Might be fun to get some first-hand use out of this one." "You don't want to do that," Kashal warned. "It really is a sensitive piece of equipment." "I think I can handle it," Mucklow replied. He tried to replicate what he had seen. A red light went on, but no sign of the rod being active. "What'd I do wrong?" Mucklow asked. "Nothing except for not being me," Kashal answered. "And by the way, rod in wrong hands." McLeod spasmed in pain and fell to the ground. In the moment of confusion, Jamie and the captain rushed forward and used their rods on the armed man. Kashal turned towards Seth and smiled at him. Seth took off running. "What just happened here?" Debbie asked. "All of our equipment has various safeguards to ensure the wrong hands don't get a hold of it," Kashal explained as he retrieved his rod. "I'm impressed with y'all," Debbie remarked. "You're clearly tough, even though you're led by a sissy boy." The captain stopped and turned to Debbie. "I'll let that slide this time, due to knowing your upbringing. From here on out, think before you talk." There was a long moment of silence as the captain looked down at Debbie. "Okay, Renee, we need to get going," Kashal said, breaking the tension. The captain pressed her wrist control and said, "Journeyman, situation secure. Let us in." She let out a short laugh, contacting command. "Not needed." The rear of the Journeyman lowered into a ramp. The scientists quickly gathered up what gear they could and loaded it into the storage area. 10 minutes later, the RMSA Journeyman was on its way home. "All the drones are on return vectors," Jamie reported. "Rovers 1 through 4 have attached to their exterior slots." "Send out the cleanup code," the captain replied. "What's that mean?" Debbie asked. "Any equipment left behind will now self-destruct," Jamie explained. "Your father will have nothing but disappointment from our visit." "All things considered, this was actually a successful expedition, considering we had to cut it so short," Kashal remarked. "Agreed," the captain replied. "All 12 drones have transmitted their data, so we have a highly detailed map of the area, 4 rovers worth of samples to look at. Then Debbie, who can give us first-hand testimony of life here in the wasteland." "Are y'all gonna force me to convert to Satanism?" Debbie asked. "Child, what did I say about thinking before you talked?" the captain replied with an amused chuckle. "Looks like we'll have to take some time on this trip to start your education." The end. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. It is the first of a series of stories that I wrote for Nomadic Delirium Press's Divided States of America. There are 6 more that I have written, as well as about a dozen from other writers. Please go to Nomadic Delirium Press, check them out, and enjoy them. If you want to find my other writings, just put Brazee-Cannon in any search engine, BRAZEE-CANNON, and you can do that. It's easy to find my Facebook page and my Amazon authors page. Thank you again.